What's going on, guys? It is Carson Brown, and we are back with another test that nobody asked for, the 2027 85cc Shootout from my perspective. We have put together all 6 manufacturers' current offering for the 85cc class. We have Kawasaki's KX85, Yamaha's YZ85, Gas's MC85, holding it down for the Austrian group. We have the US Race Edition TM85, Suzuki's RM85, and the last generation of Honda's CR85. We are taking these 6 bikes to one of my favorite backyard tracks at Jack Sigus Mondays, and we're going to do lap times to see which one I can get around the track quickest on. But if you know me, you know it's not just about the lap times. We're testing rideability, power delivery, and how much fun each bike is to figure out which one is the best for you. For 2027, Kawasaki got a ground-up chassis, ergonomic, and suspension overhaul. It features big bike style 43mm KYB inverted forks, a new larger shock body with high and low speed compression, rebound, and preload adjustment, a revised frame with a 25mm longer steering head for stability, upgraded Nissan brakes. The caliper bodies and master cylinders are similar to the KX250 with larger discs. Front increase to a 240mm, rear increase to 220mm. It's got MX34 Dunlop. It features a roomier ergonomic rider triangle. The bars are moved forward and widened with lower foot pegs to offer growing racers more room to move. Huge thanks to Sarasota Powersports for getting us a brand new KX for this test. Major improvements for the 2027 YZ85 as well. The 27 YZ85 features a revised power valve, V-Force 4 reeds. They put a heavier flywheel for better acceleration feel. They have optimized engine and swing arm brackets for frame rigidity. I'm stoked they added a quick action throttle this year. They upgraded the cooling components like a new alloy cylinder head and water pump featuring larger impeller and updated cover to boost cooling capacity. Also improved is the transmission and clutch. The gears are revised to improve rideability alongside new friction plate materials and judder springs for better starts. Big thanks to Yamaha for coming through and getting us this 2027 as quick as they could for this test. This is our Austrian pick for the Shootout, the MC85. The Gas MC85 is the exact same as the KTM and Husqvarna with different plastics and colors. While some components on the big bikes vary between brands, the mini bikes are all the same specs. Don't come at me in the comments this time, kids. These ones do not have different mapping or different size axles like the big bikes do. The Austrian 85s underwent a massive ground-up redesign for 2025, carrying forward major structural geometry with a whole new frame, a more rigid swing arm, shorter rear shock with updated mounting points, reduced travel, and refined WP exact air fork settings for enhanced traction. It received engine updates such as cylinder head, new ignition timing, and revised exhaust system. Big thanks to WMR for getting us a freshie for this test. Possibly the bike that I am the most hyped about. This is the 2026 TM US Race Edition. The TM US Race Edition 85 is a TM MX85 Junior, but it comes with a VHM head, a DPR pipe and silencer custom tailored to match the VHM head, a whole shot device, steel braided brake lines, and graphics. All of this, but the best part is it's homologated through TM Moto USA to run in the stock class at amateur events. This race edition is only available through 71 Powersports in California. This is similar to what KTM did with their SXS 85 years ago, where they produced the SXS to compete in the stock class, having it come with a pipe, silencer, and ignition. TM does not mess around. This bike is featuring an aluminum perimeter frame, Formula 39mm front forks, and an Extreme Racing Shocks rear shock. This is as race ready as a bike can possibly be out of the box for the stock class. 71 Powersports absolutely came through for us with the TM. I didn't want to do this Shootout without it. This is the last of the RM85s, the 2023, and this is the most iconic 85 for bringing up legends of the sport, such as Roxon, Millsaps, Anderson, Tomac, Hurlings, and even Jet Lawrence. This bike is known for its interrotor flywheel, letting the engine spin up quickly, giving it a free feel. As a kid, this was an absolute game changer for me. While the bike may look largely unchanged since its debut in 2002, it has received updates along the way. During its run, the bike received a more rigid frame, updated shock and linkage, updates to the brakes, clutch components, and cylinder got revised port timing at one point. There was updates to the power valve, digital CDI ignition mapping for smoother power delivery, and also an expanded exhaust chamber designed for improvement of flow and exhaust valve efficiency. While Suzuki quit producing the bike in 2023, it still is more than worthy enough for our shootout. Top amateurs such as Chase Brennan still choose this bike today, racing at the highest level. I was looking for an absolute mint 2023 RM85, which is the last year. I called up Scott at Motorsport Hillsboro, and he was like, I'm gonna find you one. He found this absolutely mint bike. It still has these stock nubbies on the tires, and he's like, where do you want it shipped? Massive thanks to him for making this happen. This thing is nice. This is the last of the CR85s, the 2007. In 2003, Honda updated their iconic CR80 into an all-new CR85. But in 2005, it received its last massive overhaul. Updates included a new cylinder and head for more low-end torque, a new exhaust system, a flat-side 28 key and PWK carburetor, and improved reed valve, a stronger crankshaft bearing, a digital CD ignition, revised transmission gears, and updated suspension settings. The CR85's last year was this one, the 2007. The CRF 150R eventually took its place. But this is an 85 shootout, and we could not leave out the last generation of this mini legend. We restored this bike back to the exact stock spec as they came with. It even has the stock bars, grips, and levers. I'm going to do my best to try and rip this thing as hard as Barsha, Savaji, and Dungy when they rode these things. Now that we know a bit more about these units, let's get them to the track. I know Luna's more excited than even I am. Let's go. Okay, we've been spinning some laps on each of these, breaking them in all day, but now it is time to go for some lap times and see what we get. Let's keep you guys updated and have some fun along the way. We just threw down some gnarly laps on the 27 KX85. They've done some major updates to this thing. The big forks and big bike brakes are a good touch for this. It might be a little bit down on power through the deep stuff, but we're gonna have to find out and put these lap times up against the others. But next, we're gonna hop on the YZ85. Lap time on the YZ85, let's see what she brings us. First impressions of the YZ85 after throwing down on it. Man, this thing corners so good. It doesn't oversteer or understeer through the ruts. Them adding the heavier flywheel this year kind of helped it through some of the muddier spots to kind of chug through. It did hurt it a little bit spin up wise, but man, I felt like we got some good laps in on this thing. Okay, we are hopping on the Gas MC85. These bikes have a lot of hype around them. They've been killing it for years. I want to see how it is on the track, lap time wise. First impressions of the Gas. This thing absolutely rips. This transmission gear ratio with this power delivery really works as an adult going out of the corners. I could kind of run a gear higher, not have to shift quite as much, and I think that was a big advantage with this thing. The no linkage in the rear, I always struggle with that as an adult though, because it kind of stays down in the rear, but man, overall this thing is so good. Onto the bike that I am most hyped about, the TM US Race Edition. This aluminum frame, I have a feeling is going to be right up my alley, but we don't know yet until we really push it. So we just threw down on the TM. I had so much fun on this. It has a totally different feel than the rest of the bikes. It feels like a mini big bike almost. It's a lot smaller and compact compared to some of the other bikes, which is pretty interesting, but it kind of works even as an adult. This thing revs so high. It doesn't do one of those things where it corners the best or has the best suspension or the best ergonomics, but it does everything at an A and nothing at an F. And that's really important on a bike like this. On to one of the most legendary bikes of the lineup. This was my favorite as a kid, the RM85. noticed is with this smaller carburetor it has, I'm able to take different lines, get out of the corners, take a lot tighter lines, and the head tube feels to be a lot steeper. So I'm able to kind of flow in and out, take different lines, and utilize the whole bike instead of just trying to ride with pure power like the other ones. Okay, we have the iconic CR85. This is the no power valve, high revving machine. We're gonna throw down on this thing for the oldies. I might have had the most fun on this thing because this is a true core two-stroke motocross engine, no power valve, old school style. Are the brakes the best? No. Does the engine have the most bottom end? No. But does it have that sheer two-stroke back in the day awesome feel of glory? Yes. All right, here are how the lap times stacked up. Let's go over what I learned about each of these bikes. We're going to start off with the RM85. The RM85 put in a respectable 2-minute, 9-second, .61 time. Funny enough, all 4 of the Japanese OEMs were in the 209 category. Pretty impressive for this bike to be in the same second as some of the majorly updated bikes, even with such a long lap time. Here's how. The RM has a smaller carb than the others. It doesn't rev as high, but it's really snappy and bottom endy. That paired with the inner rotor flywheel made it spin up quickly. I was able to get out of the corners better and take different lines on this bike. It has a really light feel being so skinny. I was diving in and out of the corners at ease. I hate to say it, but this older linkage and shock setup held me up better than the rest of the bikes and was very progressive. This is actually the tallest out of the whole group. Down on power and technology to some aspect, this thing was very respectable around the track. When you put a bigger carb on these bikes, it makes it a whole different machine. My biggest pet peeve with the RM is it doesn't have a removable quick change clutch cover. Next, we've got the CR85 at a 209.48, just edging out the RM. The CR85 made the opposite power of the RM, making up for time in the other direction. This bike has an extremely high revving engine that loves to be wrung out. Honda was definitely targeting the faster kids. The faster and harder I rode this bike, the more calmed down it felt. I was able to drive this bike around the track on sheer effort. It didn't ride as well when I was just pit riding it around or trying to do some wheelies. This has pure old school Honda two-stroke feels. While I would like to say not having a power valve held me back, it didn't. But for a more moderate rider, it would. The front and rear end were a bit unbalanced compared to the other bikes for me, but that's fixable. Again, this thing doesn't have a removable clutch cover. That's very important for me, especially smoking clutches. The KX85 was also one of the 4 bikes in the 209 range at a 209.4. The KX85 was 4th fastest on the track, but here's the thing. It makes the most usable power. On the track, it didn't feel or sound crazy fast, but it was the most consistent to ride. It was actually sneaky how fast of a time I was able to put in on it because I didn't expect it to translate a fast time with it not having a big power band hit. But as we know, consistency is fast. With it being like this, I think it has big potential, not just on the track, but for off-road and even more fun to just play right on with this smooth power band. Personally, it had the best and most progressive brakes, which is a big deal to me. The fork and frame updates benefited this KX85, and those same updates are going to translate even better to their slightly bigger KX112. The one thing though, if I owned this bike, I would put on a quick adjust clutch lever first thing. The YZ85 is still keeping it close to the others at a 209.3. This bike got some major updates this year in the right direction. This is a solid bike all around, and it didn't do anything at a D, but also didn't do anything at an A+, which in my opinion is a good thing. When OEMs focus too much on one category, it can wreck the other features of the bike. Yamaha found the correct combo. It made power right in the middle of the power band, but it was easier to keep in that range with the updated power valve and transmission. The cockpit on the bike made it very rideable. The bike felt the lightest on the track, and I was able to put the bike where I wanted. When you go to get a new 85, this is exactly what you would expect. Yamaha left a ton on the table with these bikes to be modified too. Even just a muffler makes this bike completely up. That's why we're starting to see a lot of kids winning in the 85 classes on the YZ right now. The big thing I struggle with on the YZ85 is hooking the rear brake pedal in the ruts and bending it, but that's easily fixable. Okay, our second fastest bike on the track at a 206.7, the MC85. This bike is known to be a ripper, and it didn't disappoint. The whole machine feels like a mini 125. My favorite part is the adjustable power valve. You can make it rev high or have more bottom end with just a turn of a bolt. This bike has a completely different feel than the other 5 bikes. It feels like it's set up for a bigger rider, has a more square style seat, and everything feels a little more spread out, but not in a bad way, just a different feel. The brakes were touchy for me, trying to modulate them going into the corners, but that's rider preference. As an adult, I always struggle with no linkage, making the rear feel like it never gets a chance to fully decompress when I'm riding it compared to the other bikes with the linkage. But the rest of the bike makes up for these things. The TM US Race Edition came through as the fastest at a 206.3. Everything just felt right on the bike all the way around the track. The ergonomics make it feel like a shrunk down big bike, doing everything exactly as you would expect and feeling comfortable to send it. Yes, this is the smallest bike, which is a little harder for me, but it is a true kids race bike. This thing revved way higher than the rest. The clutch hooked up hard for me and never slipped. The aluminum frame had a much stiffer feel than the rest of the bikes. It wasn't deflecting when I was hitting bumps or landing hard, giving the bike a very consistent feel compared to the others around the track. The frame paired with this suspension combination on it made for a balanced chassis. It had a few pops and sputters along the way, but these things can be ironed out. When the bike has mods, they can tend to be a little more temperamental than the conservative stock form, but that's to be expected with any bike. Once again, this bike is still legal for the stock class. The TM truly blew me away, and I was amped that we were able to put it into the shoot. Now, we know that every single one of these bikes turns completely different when you throw some mods at them. Eventually down the line, we'd love to do a full mod test, but for now, this is them in their full stock form. Now, how would these bikes stack up against a CRF 150R? We were planning to take the fastest 85 out of this bunch and putting it up against the 150, which is going to be the TM US Race Edition. Massive thanks for watching the video. We have so many bikes that we want to test and compare, but make sure to comment down below what you want to see from us. You guys are always wondering where I'm going to be ripping next. Well, now's your chance to come rip with me. Come join us for the Red Bull Barn Find Open. We're taking moto back to the glory days. Cheap fees and big track time. October 16th and 17th at Oak Ridge MX. High value and high rev and good time. No matter what era was golden for you, we've got a class for it.